Hello everyone, my name is Chris Kirkland and with Cyber Team US, coming to you from outside of Tampa, Florida. I'm putting together this presentation. Hopefully you'll like it. Hopefully it'll enlighten some folks as to some of the risks that are out there with regard to cybersecurity. Please let me know what you think and leave some comments. I'm always in the looking for improvement in this process. So anyways, I'll get started. According to the CIA, folks probably already aware of this, but the biggest threats coming from outside the U.S. come from three predominant countries, those being China, Russia, and Iran. So that's probably nothing new to. And I couldn't help but put this slide in. So here's a big red flag for you. Those that know, that's actually John Candy on the bottom there, reciting the Communist Manifesto from Volunteers. It's a pretty funny movie. But anyways, on a more serious note, if you're really concerned, about your personal security and financial information being exposed in a cyber attack and breaches, truthfully, why would you put your trust into the hands of a company that has offices in China and Russia? That's most folks probably don't know where their software comes from, let alone the companies behind them. I'm hoping this will raise a flag with you guys and at least get you to aware of what's going on behind the scenes. For those that don't know, Symantec, which is the parent company for Norton and LifeLock, actually actually operate offices in China and Russia. So hopefully that this kind of raises a red flag and some awareness with you guys, and at least some concern. It does matter where your antivirus is made, and this is kudos to PCmatic for putting this slide together. PCmatic is the only homegrown antivirus made in the United States. As you can see on the map here, a lot of the more popular software that's out there kind of emanates from many different countries, and a lot of those countries, unfortunately, are a lot where this a lot of the viruses and malware comes from. So should you really blindly trust where your your software just comes from and you use it without even questioning? No. Bottom line, in the military we basically had a saying, in God we trust, all others we monitor. So why take this risk? Bottom line is that I think that Americans will do a much better job of protecting Americans. Now, I've actually pulled this from Norton and Symantec's website in itself. You can kind of see here that this is what I talk about, the questionable foreign ties. Symantec's been doing business with Huawei for quite some time. For those that don't know, Huawei is actually a Chinese government firm. They're actually running controlled, with the Chinese government behind them. So, if you peel back that onion on that side, basically you have a lot of questionable characters, including the former CEO who was their minister of basically security for the state, or for the country of China, which is our CIA equivalent. Bottom line, China doesn't play fair. They never have. It's probably, they're not going to ever, truthfully. This is just a recent headline from not too long ago, where they actually were putting chips into basically critical components that were bound for America, and these were actually going into Apple's, their mainframes. But they've even found them I know from my time in the military, we found them on some questionable on our own equipment, within the military. A lot of it's probably not well known, but yes, it gets into the supply system, and because of that, everything becomes questionable as far as any kind of information or data that's going over that system. It's probably been compromised. So China doesn't play fair. They're not going to, and I don't expect them to anytime soon, truthfully. Here's some information on Huawei. As I mentioned previously, U.S. intelligence agencies have basically linked the company to both the Chinese military and their civilian intelligence services. The Justice Department is actually seeking to prosecute some of the the company's primarily their chief financial officer, Meng Wanzhou. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, Wanzhou, for basically violating Americans, U.S.'s sanction laws with regard to Iran. They're not going to play fair. They're going to use whatever they can to basically get one step up on the U.S. And I don't expect that to change anytime soon. But basically, as I was saying earlier, is that if you feel, this is just my personal belief, that I wouldn't put all my personal information and financial data into a company, with these kind of questionable ties. And I don't mean to, singly point out just Symantec. It's a lot of the companies that have in this realm that operate on the antivirus, malware, and software. As I mentioned earlier, another headline. Basically, the president of China there, with the former CEO Ren Zhengfei of Huawei. You can see that there's pretty close ties, and it goes on. They're out there to collect that intellectual property. They're into the networks, and by all means, the personal data that you have, which is on yourself. For those that don't know, they probably don't. You don't think about your personal identity on how that can be weaponized. But I've actually got a paper out, and I'll be putting it up on my website. You can kind of learn more about how identity theft can be weaponized. And this is kind of for me. I'm hoping I can raise some awareness to this issue, because you don't think about this. We hear about folks that get hit with identity theft, and it basically can put you out of business and bankrupt you. Bottom line. So having said that, how can it be weaponized? Well, if you think about it, if they're collecting data on hundreds and thousands and millions of people, all they have to do is basically target an area, say around a major military base, and basically flood the zone. A lot of folks that don't know, they're probably not even aware that this could even happen. But yes, it can. It can happen, very much so. And truthfully, China has the means and capability to pull it off. A lot of folks in the HR field, the human resources folks, they call it absenteeism. So basically, you can take a whole unit and make them ineffective, a battle-ready unit, and take them offline by getting their folks worried about their financial stresses at home because they've been hit with identity theft and such. And that's how they can target folks in and around bases. They would just basically flood the zone. They don't have to get everybody, but the truth is, if they get a few folks from the unit, hey, their head's elsewhere. They're not in the game, and the HR folks basically call it absenteeism, where you're operating, you're physically there, but your head is elsewhere. So basically, it just takes away your effectiveness as from war fighting capability. So these are some of the things from my previous experience in the military. I'm hoping I can raise some awareness to some of the issues here, and be the squeaky wheel, I guess you can say, and hopefully bring some awareness not just to the military, but also to those in the community as well. So having said that, what makes matters worse is folks that probably don't know, LifeLock has had their own data breach as well. There was exposure to millions and millions of their customers. Emails and addresses were basically there. They were basically taken. The company did fix the vulnerability. The truth of the matter is, no company out there is invulnerable to data theft or data breaches, including LifeLock. LifeLock just happens to be tied to Symantec, which has their own issues and problems and concerns. But truthfully, you can do the best you can to protect yourselves by having the best antivirus and malware protection on your home computer. And but it doesn't matter if you have data and financial information that's being held elsewhere. That is prone to, obviously, risk as well. So the folks can get in there and they can get that data and information. Even though you're doing everything you can to protect yourself at home, all you have to do is look at Experian, or some of the other banks, anything the hospitals, anywhere they have that information that's housed. I can go on. There's hundreds. I mean, every week that you hear about something. Just this week I heard Microsoft, lost 250 million folks' basically personal information. So, and that was and this is as of 24 January, 2020. So that's how recent this is. So, the point of the matter is you can do what you can to protect yourselves. There are countermeasures to do. Here the solution. Basically, what I've put together is a U.S.-based cybersecurity team that consists of the best antivirus malware protection program. In my opinion, that's PCManic, which operates as a whitelist type operation. It's similar to what we had in the military. Basically, nothing operates on the network unless it's approved. And the other companies that make up the team is IPVanish, again a U.S.-based entity, which is a VPN, which is a virtual private network. Highly recommend if you have laptops or any smart devices, that if you're going on any network, that before you do so, you activate a VPN, basically to help, for your own personal security. And then in the event that something does happen, in which, like as I said, there's no guarantee that, hey, you can protect everything you're doing at home, but that information that's out there on other databases, banks, financial institutions, hospitals, whatever, somebody gets a hold of that and they start using that against you, you've got a way to protect yourself with identity theft protection, and that's with Identity Force. Again, these are all U.S.-based companies. So if you want to learn more, please feel free to go to my website. It's cyberteamus.com, and leave a message and let me know how I can do to improve this. Thank you.